Hey everyone, Sloth here, and I'm going to be talking today about why I'll soon be quitting the Division, at least for now. I want to start out by shouting out Massive for making a pretty damn good game, but I'm about to helpfully bitch about that for a few minutes. This game is fun. They nailed the core of what we want as gamers for the most part. There are a few things I need to get off my chest as far as design, what could be improved, what could be cut, and what we're looking forward to, though. The first thing we're going to talk about is the definite elephant in the room for a lot of people, and for some people like myself is the core of why we play the game. Loot. Looting is fun. Getting stuff to upgrade your character is fun. Seeing a bigger number when you shoot the bad guys feels good. So good, in fact, that some people are willing to go to any length to get that. Even the dirty, dirty exploiters, of which I am among their number. Loot in the Division is great until you get to the end game. And in the end game, you are going to play hours and hours, and possibly even days before you get an upgrade. In my own personal experience, I got my first few set pieces from the incursion, and I haven't seen an upgrade since. In order to get an efficient roll on an item, or even to get an item that you can actually use or recalibrate to be efficient, it can take literally forever. Not literally forever, but a long time. The funny part about this is, since the latest patch, loot is absolutely everywhere. If you step into the DZ with your buddies and don't get absolutely smashed by people who are pretty much done with the game like me, you're going to be awash in so many gold items you don't know what to do with them. And hell, right now gold is the new purple. We need less loot, but more loot that we can actually use. The set pieces are a step in the right direction, but even they have their faults, as basically it doesn't make sense not to be wearing them. Do they really want people running around in their game with all the same stuff? Because anyone who has any sense is the same cookie-cutter 4-piece sentry build, and anyone that isn't competitive in either PvP or PvE arenas. They need to make the loot tiers matter. And RNG is not unwelcome, but give us more options and give us some cost to that to combat it. You can make it cost credits. You can make it cost Phoenix credits. Again, we're getting so many of those now that we don't even have a use for them anymore. I can't imagine what it's like being someone who just bought the game, leveled up to 30, and stepped into the Dark Zone. With golds everywhere. I imagine that guy's thinking, what are these other items for? You have a design space in your game that you can do more with this. All of the infrastructure is already there in the game. Please use it massive. It would require an almost complete revamp of what little economy is in the game, but give it a shot. Giving us a way to compare items, how good they are apart from the shooting range would be nice too, but that might be a whole nother video. Earlier today, I broke the shooting range and all the targets disappeared. Don't even tell me how I did that. The next thing I want to talk about is difficulty. The game isn't too difficult, and I know what some people are going to say here. The challenge mode is really hard. Yeah, it's hard. Even using the pit on the underside of the encounter area with my totally decked out group, we still have a little trouble. I know of at least 2 other spots on the map that you can cheese the APC's bomb and take it out of the encounter. I would like to assume that this is tested at some point, at the very least by the devs themselves. It's probably meant to be able to be done that way, and I know the Division isn't the most realistic game in the world, but would you stand someplace and let an APC rain hell on you for forever? Probably not. That aside, it doesn't require too much coordination to do even just the regular challenge modes, and especially with loot the way it is right now, with the stuff that's dropping in the incursion, if you run with a group of 4, it's child's play. I don't do matchmaking that often, but I don't think I've ever wiped a challenge mode since the second day of release. I soloed the Russian consulate today. That's probably the hardest challenge mode there is. It took me about an hour, but I still did it. Should I really be able to do that? Probably not. If I can solo that I could probably do any mode mission by myself. I'm talking about the regular mission-based ones, obviously not the incursion. How would I change that? More challenge modes, with varying degrees of challenge. The missions are already in the game, and again, as with loot, your infrastructure is already there. Hell, I don't even care if you try to balance it, just make it hard. Let us figure it out. If it's too hard, you know how vocal we are. You can implement gear score restrictions so people that don't belong there won't be there. Nobody likes dying, but I'd rather just be wiping to something and finally complete it and get that feeling of accomplishment than listen to Fei Lao spew, "We've been hacked," in the consulate for the 800th time. Make it harder, but space it out so that people with different degrees of gear can compete with different challenges. And last but not least, we need to talk about the exploits. The exploits have made it hard to enjoy this game on a few different levels. And it has expedited folks getting bored with your game faster, for sure. Like I said earlier, people will do just about anything to see bigger numbers when they shoot something. And that goes from the, absolutely bananas mobile cover glitches to people editing the rates of fire. And, I mean, come on, Massive, that's really client-side. You really gonna let us have that? And people are doing that, in the DZ. At least on PC. This has ruined thousands of people's enjoyment in this game. And I bet it's worse for the console guys who, generally speaking, don't have the same resources in terms of things like Reddit and, forums and stuff like that. I'm not saying you guys don't do that or don't have access to that. There are just less of you here, noticeably. And as far as the exploiting goes, I mean, I've done it. I'm not going to lie. If I'm to be banned for that, I'll take it. I'll take my ban. I won't try to excuse it away except to say my group legitimately cleared all the content that we exploited before we ever exploited it. I'm not saying that's justification, but it makes us feel better about it. That aside, we did Hornet, we did Police Academy, we did the Mask Bug and the DZ, we did the Incursion. We did everything we possibly could except actually hack. And why? Why is the big question. And that's to keep up with the Joneses, just to keep up with people who are doing the same thing. It's the only way to deal with those people who are using every exploit to their advantage and not just outright hacking. And a lot of people feel that those are the same things. We all have our different morality about it. We're people. The only way to deal with that is, if somebody's wrecking you in the DZ and they're using this stuff, they're using this gear, the only way to deal with that is to stoop to their level. Sometimes the only way to, show the schoolyard bully what's up is to just punch him in the mouth. And that's the way a lot of us justified it. The thing is, this created an environment where our progress in the game was accelerated a lot. And now we're left in a position where we don't have anything to work for anymore. It's definitely our fault. We put ourselves in this position by taking part in these things. But they were there for us to do it. If they weren't there, then we wouldn't have had to. Was testing just kind of glazed over? Was the game pushed out before it was ready? These are all valid questions, and now the community, many of us having done these things, are, standing outside Massive's virtual castle with pitchforks and torches at the ready. What are we going to do? These things have to be handled faster and better. And we know that you don't have an absolute army of people writing code, but maybe next time you release more content, you'll think twice about that and playtest it a little bit more. Hire some of my Swedish friends. They are fantastic. In closing, there are a lot of fun parts of this game. it has most of the pieces of the puzzle put together. But there are definitely some things that feel like they need to be fleshed out more. And I'll quit this game and happily revisit it, DLC and all, later on. I feel like there is going to be a lot of things getting worked on that are going to improve the game going forward. I feel like they had to release the game to get a feel for what we as players were going to do with it in order to decide where their design was going to go moving forward. And a lot of you are going to say, well, that's what betas are for. And that is what betas are for. At the same time, we don't have the corporate overlords that Massive does. We don't have the same pressures, pitfalls, and things to deal with that they do. In other words, we don't know their struggle. They know the exploits. They read these posts. And we see them as this huge entity, but they're really a handful of guys compared to the player base. And sometimes it feels like there is a disconnect between us, the community, and them. And I don't know, state of the games are nice, but they've stated that they're still learning us. They're still learning what our expectations are and how well they're able to react to those. The ball is in their court on that one. But as a conscientious gamer, I feel like they're listening, and that's a warm, fuzzy feeling, because a lot of companies straight up don't. Some companies even abandon games altogether after they milk whatever profit they can gain out of them and they've served their purpose. I don't think that's going to happen here. Will anybody be playing this game in 3 years? Probably not, but I mean, people are still playing Destiny, and Destiny is a pretty good example of how things like this can turn around. Sort of. Anyways, thanks for reading or watching, whichever you did. I did post this on Reddit. I'm going to end things, if there's any time left, with a song, so you can see the end of this manhunt, and until next time.